Hello. Hi. Okay, so this is exactly 28 minutes to 5. I promised to start this section at 4:30, so I will start. Whoever joins us will join us. And then whoever is listening, it means this is your time to listen to it. Good afternoon. Hopefully you know me. My name is Tamani. Today I just want to take myself out of my comfort zone. This is the first time that I do this, and I hope you enjoy it. Firstly, I hope you are coping with being locked down at home. And thank you for those who are doing essential work, who are keeping us going, providing us with food and everything that we need. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read a section of the book, and from there on I will maybe pick up a point or two of what I think is important. It might not be what you think is important. And if you have any questions that you want to ask, please feel free to ask and we'll discuss. Hi, Peve. So I'm going to read from the introduction. Okay. And it reads as follows. I was born into a family of 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. I am the 5th and last born. Being the youngest, I was obviously spoiled. My father was a reverend and my mother was a teacher. My parents were very strict. As respected members in the community, they also expected all their children to be role models for the other children. My mother was the disciplinarian, whereas my father was the quiet one. However, he would use the family evening prayer meetings and the pulpit to dispense his wisdom or correct us of any misbehavior. In one of her interviews with Oprah Winfrey, Maya Angelou said that one of her success rules in life is always do the right thing. As individuals, we must have that one person of whom we can always ask, what would they say if I did this? For me, my father is that person. He was a quiet man who never raised his voice or spanked us. My mother was the one who would shout when we did something wrong. I was so used to her shouting that it no longer affected me. I became immune to it. One day when I misbehaved, for the life of me, I can't remember what I did. Hi, Michael. My mother said nothing. I was shocked. While still in shock, my father looked at me and said with a very sad voice, he said, Tamani, I'm so disappointed. I never expected you to do that. And he left the room. That was the worst discipline I have ever received in my life. Since that day, I promised myself never to disappoint my father. The late Dr. Wayne W. Dyer once said that death ends lives. It does not end relationships. Even after his passing, my father continues to be my father. Still today, whatever decision that I make, I always ask myself if my father will be disappointed or proud of me. In a way, he has become my conscience. I know it comes with its own psychological baggage, but refrain from psychoanalyzing me for now. You have the rest of the book to do that. My father passed in November 2015 after a short illness. The hardest part for me was seeing a man I grew up knowing to be strong and proud, having to rely on his children and other people for basic tasks such as feeding and bathing himself. Losing him was painful. in that I loved and admired him. But it was also a relief as he was in a lot of pain. During the period of mourning and the day of the funeral, people came to comfort us. Some shared all the good things that my father had done for them and their families. After everyone had left, we would sit as a family and reminisce about our time with him, the songs that he used to compose, the midnight trips from Johannesburg to Giyani to Pipiras, now known as Mokopane, and the sermons to make us toe the line. As a pastor and a firstborn in his family, he was a role model and influenced a lot of people. During the period after my father's passing, I reflected a lot on the wisdom that he used to share with us through preaching or just casual conversations. When I was younger, I thought he was a saint. As I grew older, I saw that he had his flaws. At first, I was angry at him for having misled me. But then I realized that even though he was a reverend, just like all of us, he was a human being. I accepted and loved him with all his imperfections. One of my closest friends always reminds me that we must see perfection in imperfection because we are also not perfect. This book contains most of the teachings that I learned from my father, mother, siblings, friends, books I read, colleagues, and other people who have been influential in my life. Their teachings, guidance, and influence have shaped me into the person that I am today. By writing this book, I want to document all the lessons I have learned and show how they have influenced my love for learning and development, leadership, career, and life in general. I also write from my perspective as an organizational development coach, leadership development specialist. This book is divided into different parts of my life and experiences. At the end of each part, there are coaching questions that I highly recommend that you reflect on before moving on to the next part. You will notice that my personal and career lives are somehow interlinked. We are all total human beings. I believe that our lives should be integrated instead of compartmentalized. I hope that my children and anyone who reads this book will gain wisdom and be positively inspired to be the best expression of themselves. I'm writing this book from my heart to your heart, from my belly to your belly. These are my reflections, which I call Tami's musings. As you read each word, sentence, paragraph, page, and chapter, I pray that you feel and hear my heartbeat. Okay, so this is the part that I wanted to read for today. And from this part, I just wanted to highlight a few things. One of the questions that people always ask is, why the title of the book? Why from my belly to yours? Hi, Savelo. And my response is, when I wrote this book and when I speak to people, when I connect with people, I'm not connecting with a title, but I'm connecting with a human being. I'm connecting with an individual. And whatever it is that I do, yesterday we had a meeting and someone said to me that, you know, someone, when you laugh, your laughter sounds that it comes from the belly. And that is true. Everything that I do, it comes from deep within me. I'm not doing things or saying things just to please people, but I'm saying things because I believe in them. So what I wrote here, for me, it's I've given birth to something. You know, it comes from the womb. And when something comes from deep within, you give birth to something, you're also hoping that whoever reads this book is going to learn out of it and is going to give birth out of it. And you're going to influence other people positively because of what you gain from the book. So hence the name of the book, From My Belly to Yours. It's not superficial things that you read here. Other people say I'm naked. Probably I am naked because I am honest. I I speak about my failures. I speak about everything and anything about my life. So that is the first thing that I wanted to highlight regarding what I've read. The second thing, please, if you have any questions, be free to ask, because I'm just talking from what stood out for me. It might not necessarily be what you want to hear. The second thing that I would like to highlight is the role that my father played in my life. And I think I want to challenge all of us, myself included, that as parents, we need to be very conscious of our behavior. Sometimes as parents, we say things, but we don't do them. Our kids are not listening to what we say, but they do what we do. I indicate here in the book that my father is sort of my conscience. Each and every decision that I make, it doesn't matter what it is, I always ask myself, what would my father say? And thank you, June. And I make sure that I don't disappoint him. And as I indicated, yes, it does come with its psychological baggage, because I always have to think, if I do this. And he didn't go out searching for me to do that. It was because of his behavior. It was because of how he treated us. And like I indicated, he was not a saint. He had his flaws. And at some point, I was very angry with him, like, but Papa was a pastor. How can he have all these flaws? And then it dawned on me that, guys, we are human beings. And sometimes we take on the mistakes of our parents and we make them ours. We live in shame because our parents did this and therefore we cannot do that. And my take is that they live their lives. They made their own mistakes. It is our time now to make our own mistakes. We cannot continue saying that, I can't do that because my father was like that. We're just making excuses. We're not taking accountability. We're not taking responsibility. So for me, as much as my father is my conscience, and I always ask myself, what will dad say? What will Papa say if I do this or I say things like this? But it helps me in terms of direction. I don't want to embarrass him. I know he's passed on. I don't know whether he sees me or he doesn't see me, but at the back of my mind, I shouldn't disappoint my father. And for me, the question that I want to ask you is, whether you have kids or you don't have kids, are you aware that your children are watching you? Are you aware that your sisters, your brothers, whoever sees you as a role model is watching you? Whatever you do, whatever you say, people are watching. Yesterday, I've just resigned from my job and I'm starting a new job, and we had a farewell, and people were talking about how I've influenced them in their lives. And sometimes you're not even aware of what you're doing. You're just being yourself. You're just being authentic. And it is important to be authentic. It is important to know who you are and stick to it and show up in that way. Because if you don't show up, if you live an inauthentic life, people will see it. You might pretend for a while, but people have got an antennae that they will always tell that this person is not real. This person is just putting up a face. So as a parent, as a sister, as a brother, just be aware. It is not what you say. It is what you do. If you are a leader, it is worse, because everywhere you go, people are watching you. So this is it for me for today. I just wanted to read that first part of my book, the introduction, just to give you an indication why the name of the book, why I titled From My Belly to Yours. Those of you who know me, when I speak with passion. I love with passion. I do everything with passion. And when I wrote this book, I wrote it with passion as well. And hopefully when you read it, you will get to feel that passion. So that was the first part. The second part was about who influenced me to write this book. A lot of people influenced me to write the book, but one very important person was my father. My father loved books. My father loved reading. He never forced any of his children to read or anything, but he always had books around the house. And that's how we also got to learn to love reading and to love books. And that is why I wrote this book. So that's it from me. Maybe if you have any questions, sit direct from the horse's mouth. Thanks, Zach. Hey, Daniel. Hi, guys. Okay, so if there are no questions, we'll try it again tomorrow. This was my first attempt at this thing. Hopefully it worked. Please give me feedback if you can. I can't wait to hear your thoughts about it. Thank you. Bye.